Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Mondays Down South. It's we took a break last week for the first time in a while, so you got to bear with us. But we're back. We're better
It's a
than
bye
ever.
week.
Bye week, indeed. We're better than ever. And we're ready for
needed
some NFL recaps. But before we do that, we got a big fight this weekend, as Zach and Evan were letting me know about. And no, we're not talking about Mike Tyson. We're not talking about Mike Tyson and Logan Paul. We're talking about the UFC. So I'm going to let those two delve into it and give us more information on that, and I will just sit back and drink my water and enjoy the ride. So go ahead, gentlemen.
You know, Zai, I love the fact that you thought it was Logan Paul, not Jake Paul, that's fighting. Because that just goes to show me like your thoughts on the internet personalities that have converted into the boxing scene, and I appreciate you so much. But I'll just get us started. I want to kick this over to Evan too. But UFC 309 is in Madison Square Garden, and Evan's residential city right now in New York, and I'm curious to get what his plans are. But essentially, UFC 309 in the Garden, John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. You have the best fighter of all time in John Jones, according to Dana White. Dana White loves John Jones a little bit too much. That's what I've seen lately. Versus Stipe Miocic, the undisputed heavyweight champion, one of the best heavyweights to ever do it, probably the best statistically. He's taken down everybody. John Jones took about 3 years to gain the weight healthily in order to be able to compete. You know, obviously he was a light heavyweight guy at 205. Now he's fighting about 230, 240. He says it was a weight thing and that was the delay, but I really think it was waiting for him or for Francis Ngannou to leave the UFC. There's been a little bit of speculation on that, but that's the main event. The co-main event is Mike Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. It'll be the second fight between the two absolute juggernauts, extremely explosive. We are Mike Chandler guys, but Charles Oliveira is such a good dude. Honestly, I don't want either of those guys to lose, but whoever wins is the number one contender in the lightweight division. So they would be going up against Islam Makhachev, which will be really interesting. Ev, I'll kick it over to you. Get your initial thoughts about UFC 309.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I have to admit, I just realized it was this weekend, earlier this afternoon. So, but I've been waiting for this one for a long time, despite my, it's sneaking up on me. So first, shout out any New York people that are listening to this episode and like UFC. Can you tell me the best UFC bar in New York to go to? So, and these guys will get to take advantage at some point when they're here. But still hunting for the best one. But I'm obviously pumped for this card. Good to have John Jones back in the ring. Pumped it's at MSG. I'm a little disappointed in the rest of the card, honestly. Two huge fights, and then Bo Nichols is stud in that third in the whole spot. But two great fights. I've never been against John Jones, although he did, I think, lose one fight in his career, but just didn't go the other way on the scorecards against Dominic Reyes a few years back. But I'm just never picking against this guy. He's an absolute stud. I don't care how much time he's out of the ring. So, but hope it's a good fight. And I think Chandler's in for a rough ride in the co-made, but it should be a fun fight as well. So, just look forward to it.
Question for you guys. So I understand the concept of a co-main, but with the headliners being so big, do you guys truly believe, and I'm asking out of ignorance, but do you guys truly believe that Oliveira and Chandler deserve to be considered a co-main? I wonder, like, maybe I don't understand what that means in UFC, but usually I would think that means that it's on the same level of hype, and I don't know, it just seems like the guys in the main event are, arguably just more impressive.
Yeah, it's a good point. I would say it's definitely deserving of a co-main because it is the number one contender fight. So it is going to be 5 rounds. There are a lot of co-mains that are just 3 rounds. And actually, technically, this one should be 3 rounds, Evan, because it's not for a title. But it's a really interesting point that Sai brings up because Chandler has not fought in 2 years. He was waiting for McGregor to get his act together. Surprise, surprise, the king is not back. He's on a yacht, having fun, doing snow angels in the ground. But anyways, Charles Oliveira, on the other hand, has been very, very disciplinarian. working, honing his craft, but he's just a little bit older, and he is coming off a loss to Arman. So, it's a good point by Sai. I think the only thing that's saving that matchup and why it is a worthy co-main, in my opinion, is two of these guys are so explosive. They're fan favorites. Mike Chandler has never had a non-exciting fight in the UFC, and Charles Oliveira, is just a fan favorite, incredible fighter. Stylistically, probably my favorite fighter in the UFC right now. He's just so fun with his elbows, his knees, and then his Muay Thai style striking. And then also he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy who has the most Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu submissions in the UFC period. But Ev, what do you think? Do you think this is a worthy co-main, or do you think this is reaching?
Yeah, I think, to Sai's kind of inquiry, there's always a co-main on the card. Like, it's just how they set them up. So they kind of just pick their best one. So usually it is another title fight, or it's like some kind of manufactured, like, really awesome matchup, whether that's Conor just because it's Conor, or like a BMF type thing. So I think it's close. Like, the lightweight division is just all bangers pretty much. So for that reason, it'll be a good fight. But I think, like I said, I'm a little maybe disappointed in the whole card. Not necessarily in this fight particularly, but it's borderline. It's borderline. Not being a title fight, but yeah.
I'll say this. Knowing very little, but having watched more fights recently with you guys, like with Evan in New York and with some of my buddies over here, it doesn't matter who wins, though. I feel very confident, even with my ignorance of the UFC, that Islam is winning that title fight, like, hands down. I'm willing to bet our entire MDS bank on that. So, that's the part that makes it a little bit less, like, enticing for me as a observer, because you just know how dominant the champion is, even as a guy who's barely even a casual fan. But it's also fun. Like, I like the idea of these guys getting an opportunity. I think that adds that incentive. So I respect that.
Yeah, it's funny, Mike. We're obviously Mike Chandler fans on this podcast. He's actually watched a couple of clips a couple of years ago, back when we didn't really have any high tech equipment whatsoever. But
friend of the program,
friend of the program, exactly. But anyways, he was offered by Khabib back when Khabib was still competing. Chandler was chasing Khabib. He wasn't even in the UFC at this time. And then Khabib was like, "Who are you? Like, stop contacting me. If anything, fight my like prodigy Islam. He's like coming through the ranks. He's incredible. He hasn't lost yet." And Mike Chandler was like, "Nah, I'm not interested in that fight. Like, who is this dweeb?" And it's just so funny how Islam is the king of that division and will be for a long time, besides points. So the only thing before we switch topics is there is this fighter in the lightweight, not the bandweight, featherweight division, named Ilia Topuria, who is absolutely steamrolling guys. And why I love this guy is he comes from a boxing background. He's a Spanish fighter. And typically boxing guys don't really fare out very well in the UFC because, like, you have to, in order to land strikes, you have to really close the distance and be within the pocket and within a certain range, opening yourself up to kicks, teeps, or a takedown from a wrestler. But Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway have been able to do that. That fight was incredible. Ilia obviously dominated. My question for Evan is, who do you think would have won this fight? Conor McGregor, featherweight juggernaut, undefeated, or Ilia Topuria in their primes?
Oh, I'm in the prime?
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to pick against Conor in his prime.
I know, it's tough.
Like, right at Conor's peak, like, it's hard to pick anyone against him.
I agree. I think Conor would still take down Ilia Topuria.
It was a quick, like, he hit the summit quickly and then started coming down, I feel like, but yeah, I'm not picking against peak Conor, but I was impressed with what Topuria did against Holloway, man. After what Holloway did do, I guess, Gaethje last time, right, man? I wasn't able to watch that fight, but I mean, he seemed like he picked him apart pretty effectively. So I'll have to find that one on the YouTube when it gets posted, if not already. So I was excited to catch that one, but
yeah. All right, boys. Shall we shift on over to the NFL?
Let's do it. What do I get into this weekend? Just watch from home, or
yeah? Well, we're chiller than usual, and then watch at home and watch my Colts drop another one with Joe Flacco. So it was a nice fun for me. No, I mean, it was a more chill week, for sure.
Yeah, same with me. Was chilling at home, just like Shane Waldron will do next week. Too soon,
dude. Never too soon, man. Call that one from the jump. Yeah, I guess we can open with the Bears because the Bears are an absolute mess. I mean, obviously, Waldron is gone. That's not a surprise at all. I've talked about him a lot on this podcast. But there's a lot of chatter behind the scenes about Bears veteran players. They wanted Waldron out. They got that. But there's chatter that they want Tyson Bagent to be the quarterback over Caleb Williams. And I would bet, you know, I would bet my money that DJ Moore is one of those guys because if you look even back to the first or second game of the year, DJ Moore, there's a clip of him walking by Tyson Bagent on the sideline and saying, you have to lip read a little bit. So, but it looks like he was saying, "We need you," after like the second game of the season. And Caleb has been horrible the last 3 games. Same way you want about the play calling, but he's missing wide open throws all over the place. So I'm curious to, who's most to blame in this whole situation across Poles, Eberflus, Waldron, and the quarterback would be how I'll prompt this question to you guys.
I can start. I don't think it's Poles. I can't be mad at Poles for the way he's approached roster construction and just drafting in general. He's built a superb defense. He's gotten all the offensive weapons you could want. Receiver. He's done a pretty good job. I mean, at first DeAndre looked a little iffy, but he looks great now. For the most part, like he's done a good job of adding everywhere he needs to add. He's built a good offensive line, and he drafted the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams. Which, let's be real, anyone that had that pick would have taken Caleb Williams. Like that's a given. As much as we now know how good Jaden Daniels is, I mean, but regardless, I would say 95 to 100% of teams would have picked Caleb Williams there. He's been touted for a while. I can't say anything about Poles. As far as who's to blame, I think this is probably a group effort in the context of why they haven't had success. I mean, I'm not going to go on another tangent about the expectations we place on rookie quarterbacks right now, but it is kind of funny because of guys. I think it's because of guys like Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud having had these unbelievable rookie years that we've seen recently that we forget how much rookies struggle. Even the greats, like even guys like Peyton Manning, when they first started, how much they struggle that first year. And it's why play calling and having the right kind of system around you is very important early on because, you're prone to making mistakes. So I'm not out on Caleb. There's a lot of time left before we figure out who he really is, but clearly they have a lot to figure out. The defense is still good. It's just a matter of can they get the ball moving on offense. It's kind of a bummer with the amount of personnel they have that over there. So I'll let Zach jump in.
Yeah, so my top person to blame, I decide that Poles is last for me. My biggest person to blame at this point is Matt Eberflus. Like I saw this thing earlier about how he's had 8 guys across his few years with the Bears get fired from his staff. Like at some point, you just got to blame the guy that's hiring these people. I mean, they get Getsy last time. He's horrendous as an offensive coordinator, and then he hires Waldron, who everyone knew from his time in LA is a horrible OC, and he's the one hiring these guys. It's a really good team. At some point, you just they've given him a lot of leash, and at some point, you just got to blame the guy that's hiring these people. So I think they need to blow it up this offseason from a coaching perspective. I don't think they have a choice at this point, and rebuild around the quarterback. And my question about Caleb, though, is my question about him, coming into the draft is ego and personality wise. And because I agree with Cy, we got to give rookie quarterbacks, even ones that's talented, a lot of leash to, struggle and, have their rookie mistakes. But my 2 issues is one, he's getting worse because he started rough, got better, and now he's getting worse. And 2, the veteran players in the locker room understand and give him some leash to play poorly and not be asking for a change. That just kind of tells me that maybe they don't like the person. Would be my question. I don't know that for sure, but I feel like players in that locker room that know they're, building for more than just this year. And yeah, this year has been disappointing. They would understand kind of the rookie struggles and be willing to bear with it a little bit, knowing what the future could bring if, they believed in the person and that he was setting a good culture in the clubhouse. So that's my question is what does that look like? But, we just don't know.
I don't know about the culture aspect, but I think the one thing I'll point to is I think the NFL's changed a lot. And what I will point to is that the Bears have done a lot to improve in the last 2 to 3 years. So a lot of these guys have seen somewhat of an upward trajectory in the context of where they saw the team going. So I think it's less about, we're not patient with Caleb and more about them feeling like we're ready to win right now and we need someone who can execute the bare minimum. If this was a team that, some of these guys just got over there and they're just now starting to rebuild, I think people would have more patience. I think it's more that they're hey, look at some of these games where we've been like really close. Look at how good our defense has been. And that's probably why they're really frustrated. I mean, it's not really that dissimilar from the Colts situation. The one thing that I will point to, though, is, which is kind of weird to me, is players have been like very much backing Anthony Richardson, even though Flacco is a veteran who has been proven. Like, our players keep saying, no, we love Richardson. Like, we hope to have him back. It's weird that I don't hear that about Caleb yet, but it might also just be that, like, the personality is different. Like, everyone knows that Richardson, or speaks about how kind of a person Richardson is and how much he like loves the team and everything. Maybe that's missing, and I don't know. I don't want to speak on that because I just don't know, but that could be a component, right? Maybe they just don't see that level of like, or maybe they see some entitlement. I'm not implying it's there, but it could be how they feel with him being the number one overall pick.
Yeah, that's my point. That's a good comp. Because the other option is that it's just, maybe it's just a maturity of the veteran players. Like, the Colts have a veteran, mature core group there. So maybe it's just like, I don't see that with DJ Moore personally. He's kind of been a whiner his whole career. So I'm not saying he's the one that said it, but so I think Tyson Bagent might actually be good. He must be playing really well in practice. That's prompting this.
Yeah, but who in the NFL deserves to whine more than DJ Moore, bro? I think I'd throw a hitsy fit if I was DJ Moore with what he's dealt with since he's joined the NFL. He has not had one consistent quarterback his entire time in the NFL. And I can't even imagine how frustrating it is to finally get to a new team, have all these expectations from everyone and be so excited about it, and then just end up in another position where someone can't get him the ball. This is not DJ Moore's fault that the receivers aren't playing well. He has proven time and time again he's a great receiver, assuming someone can put the ball in his relative vicinity, which is few and far between.
Justin Fields. He loved Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is a backup right now. Let's be clear.
My point is,
he got replaced by 40-year-old Russell Wilson.
I said this before the year, though, that DJ Moore loved Justin Fields. He said it so many. He said, I don't want to draft a new quarterback. I want Justin Fields my quarterback. And he said that was going to be a problem, and it's become a problem.
That is precisely why his quarterback play has been terrible, because he is so happy.
Justin played well.
Fields is a starting quarterback. That can show his quarterback situation.
I have love for DJ Moore, though.
I like
the answer to your question about who can complain as much as him is Terry McLaurin, and Terry McLaurin has never complained in his entire career.
Justin Fields didn't get.
You just said that Caleb was the better prospect. So what's the problem here?
No, I'm saying by the NFL GM standard, but I mean it's not like I'm sitting here saying Caleb is better than Jaden. Nobody here said that. Let's make it clear. And let's also make it clear DJ Moore would be incredible with Jaden Daniels. That's not knocking Terry. Because obviously Terry is unbelievable.
A better receiver.
But I've always loved Terry. It's not like comparing the two seems unfair to me because I've always liked both. I feel like
I think Terry's better under Jaden Daniels because Terry's got the deep ball threat, whereas DJ Moore is kind of solidifying himself as like a 10 to 15 yard slant type of receiver. Kind of reminds me of Michael Thomas, actually.
I think he can do it.
Slant boy.
No, I think DJ can do it all. He had some huge plays with Caleb last year, too. Like, he had some 40, 50-yard touchdowns, so I think he can do it all. But, I mean, Terry's a better deep ball guy. There's no doubt. This is a fun one, though. That's a good debate.
It's a good topic.
It's a good topic.
DJ Moore solidifying himself as anything for me, man. 3 for 20 every week just ain't it, but we'll see. It's not for me.
Especially because Evan can talk and critique DJ Moore, especially this year, because he did get that big deal. So if you're going to get that big deal, you got to put up big boy numbers, and he's not doing that right now.
Well, I mean, we probably need you out there throwing the football to him, and maybe he'll put up some more numbers. But
dude, me at Breezy Hill Drive, I would get him like 8 receptions, 75 yards, 2 tutties.
Offense, and I promise you he'll make the contract work.
All right. I want to switch over to a topic that I feel pretty strongly about. Over the last couple of weeks, I've heard news about Shedeur Sanders is not going to play for the Panthers if they were to draft him first overall or whoever the first overall pick is. And then Jerry Jones is thinking, well, maybe it's more strategic for the Dallas Cowboys to tank and then try to get Shedeur Sanders or some of these like top quarterbacks, right? Like we'll just pick on Shedeur for this example. And the Raiders are obviously like trying to get him and try to find that open spot, and they're tanking as well. My polarizing opinion is that I don't think any of these quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL draft class are good or worth top 10 picks. I don't think Jalen Milroe, Shedeur Sanders, Carson Beck, any of these guys that you throw into this dance are good enough to be worthy of drafting, to being drafted top 10. And I actually don't think they will. I think there's so many great skill position players, specifically edge rushers and corners that are coming out of this draft. Like, I just think that these Shedeur Sanders, like tankathons, like 3 or 4 teams are really in the running for that first overall pick, are not even like, they're not even looking at him. They're not even on, or he is not even on any of their radars. And I feel like for buzz, maybe it's Deion Sanders' kid, and Colorado's got a lot of hype lately. Shedeur Sanders is a great player, but he does not have the arm strength or the throwing power to make it in the NFL. He's extremely accurate. He reminds me of like a poor man CJ Stroud, where CJ Stroud is super accurate, but he has the he has the arm strength, and he has the versatility in the pocket to go through multiple reads, which is what he did at Ohio State. Shedeur Sanders is just looking at Travis Hunter and throwing the ball down the field. I just do not see NFL playmaking ability. I'll throw Cam Morton into that equation. I said Jalen Milroe, Carson Beck. I'll even throw Quinn Ewers, or whatever his name is, from Texas into the equation. None of these guys are good enough to be drafted in the top 10. I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, where is Shedeur Sanders going to go? Who's going to tank for Shedeur Sanders? Nobody is, because he's not going to get drafted anytime soon.
I think that's not how I'm taking them. Like, I think like some of these guys will go because of the fact that quarterbacks just go high and teams feel like they need to like cash in on potential. I do think there's depth, meaning like I think there's a lot of guys who have potential and upside, guys like Jackson Dart and Cam Ward and guys like that who have some level of upside. Like, you just got to find the right fit and the right coordinators, but nobody is jumping out, to me, the way that the guys did in the last draft, right? Like, it's not even comparable. And especially coming out of a draft like last year where it was so highly touted and there was such a, talk about the top 3 to 4. Like, I mean, it's pretty, just going from that. I agree with you. I do.
Yeah, I disagree a little bit on Shedeur. I think Shedeur will be good. He needs a good team around him. You're going to have to really be able to protect him well. You're going to have to give him good weapons. But I think he'll be good as far as his, again, with Caleb, like his attitude and his ego and whatnot will take him. But he seems to be good on that front overall. Carson Beck's falling out of the first round, so I don't like, he's really killed his stock. He's awful. He's been truly horrible this year. Quinn Ewers is the same. He's completely killed his draft stock. Cam Ward, I don't think will be great. For me, I actually watched him this weekend. He almost reminds me of like Jaden Daniels if he couldn't like run. Which is weird because Cam, I feel like he's actually really athletic enough to scramble and like use his legs effectively, and he does navigate the pocket with it, but he never scrambles. And I'm like, dude, just go pick up the yards. And obviously when you take that element away, it's like not that great of a quarterback. Like he's I think he'd be okay, but not like someone that's ever gonna like lead a team to a Super Bowl or any of that. That's
like
kind of nonsense.
Pickens of quarterbacks. He doesn't care out there.
Pickens had dead man.
Zach, your Pickens take was aging so much better than I thought it would. I mean, I still would take Garrett Wilson, but George Pickens is
so good.
He's a beast.
He crashed out so it was insane.
He just jumped on the defender.
The way Twitter puts it, like, oh my gosh, I was laughing so hard that the second that ball was picked, he's not going to tackle him. He's just trying to take out the defender for no reason.
Well, even the stiff arm though, he's St. Juiced.
Yeah, like, the one where it's just like, he's a stud though. He's played really well with Russell.
It's a great thing to jump into though. We don't have any more things. Yeah. It's a bummer that game came down to the ending play that it did. It was somewhat controversial. Like, I think we could go back and forth. It was like so close. Like, obviously, it depends on how you talk about momentum. Evan made a really good point. I think the NFL needs to do a better job of sticking to that throughout the course of a game if they're going to call that, right? I feel like I've seen in multiple instances where they'll just give someone a first down if it's close like that throughout the course of a game. But then at the end of the game on like a game deciding play, they'll talk more about momentum, like were you falling forward before someone touch you down or whatever it is, right? And my thing with that is it's a little frustrating when it's not consistent across the board. But moving past that was an awesome game. I mean, obviously the Commanders have looked great all year, so there's not really much to say outside of they looked great again, and Jaden played great, and he almost led a comeback, which was really impressive. But I also got to give Russell Wilson his flowers. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched that game. I watched the ending live. That throw he made on the blitz with the game on the line where he was falling back and just threw this perfect, one of those beautiful Russell Wilson like deep balls that just floats right there down. I mean, granted, St. Juice got cooked per usual. That's pretty much a given every week. But I mean, it was just a perfect throw. And Mike Wallace, like the way, not Mike Wallace, but the way they're using some of these guys in the offense is just so impressive. It was Mike Williams. But yeah, I think the Steelers look really good. The Commanders look really good. You can't really say anything bad about either of the teams. I just think like we already knew the Commanders were good. I think this makes the Steelers look even better as we evaluate them going forward, especially in this, I would say, very weak AFC. This is the weakest the AFC has been in years.
Yeah, just I want to give Evan his time on this game. It was just an electric game. The only thing I really want to touch on is I'll actually flip it on its head side with what you said. I think I earned more respect for the Commanders in that loss. And the reason I think that is because the Commanders have put up points, against really anybody. But they still are dealing with a rookie quarterback. And Cliff Kingsbury, I was like, is this going to be temporary? Are they going to also have that mid-season slumber, which seems to, really hit home on rookie quarterback teams? But they host the Steelers, who have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they put a 27-point, almost 30 points on them easily, which really doesn't happen in Pittsburgh at all. And I just think that my respect for both of these teams has increased. I think Pittsburgh's really good, and I think Washington's really good too. They really earned my respect this week, even in a loss. But I'll kick it over to Ev, and he has so many thoughts on this game.
I agree and disagree in some respects. I actually did not think the Commanders played well at all, like compared to what they played in prior weeks. Now, but that also, to your point, I thought they were good before, but the fact that they can, in my opinion, play really poorly to their standard and almost beat the Steelers, I think is pretty impressive. But Zacchaeus muffed 2 punts. The wide receivers were played well. You were dropping passes left and right. Ertz as well. Noah Brown, De'Ami Brown. Like the wide receivers played horrible. McCaffrey, rookie, but obviously you had the last play at the end, rookie mistake. That is what it is. The cornerbacks, believe it or not, Ben St. Juste was our best cornerback in that game. That's how friggin' bad the rest of the secondary played. So I actually thought this was probably their worst game of the year that they played, and still almost beat the Steelers. As for the end, that was a first down. It just was like the whole forward motion thing. They're so aggressive with giving forward motion in this league. And then on that play, they just choose to not. And even if you don't, it was still a first down based on where he moved it up. But they had so many opportunities to win that game and put it away earlier. And they didn't. So, first, I would say first disappointing Commanders game this year, as a game they truly should have won, and kind of blew it. But, I think that makes for an exciting opportunity to rebound in what is a, more important game by 10 times in about 48 hours in Philly. So it sounds like the locker room's real fired up to make up for that loss. But yeah, good game. Pittsburgh, I think, is a really good team, and a sleepy, borderline Super Bowl contender. With that defense, and the other thing I'll add is it was a tough game for the Commanders because Andrew Wiley, our right tackle, who would be guarding TJ Watt, was out. There were a couple of other, Brian Robinson's proven to be a big loss. So a couple other key injuries, and they need Lattimore, who I don't think is going to be back for Thursday yet. But good game, two good teams going at it.
The only thing I think I disagree with is them being a borderline Super Bowl contender. I don't think that they are personally. If they are, it's because the Ravens and Bills and other teams choked in the playoffs. Because I'm not talking about the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs do what they do, but yeah, I don't think. I think the only way they'd be a borderline Super Bowl contender is if the AFC continues to struggle in the playoffs. That's the only way.
I think they could be a tough matchup, with that defense and hard to score.
You don't want to draw them as one of the lower seeds. Right. I completely agree with that. That would be, that would suck because they can be nitty gritty, and Mike Tomlin is not someone you want to face in the playoffs. But yeah. I'm just saying, I don't expect them to go on a run. But yeah, we can move on.
Not expecting it either. Conference final. I can see them making a conference finals run. It still wouldn't be my pick, but I can see it.
Both of our teams lost in very close games and close spreads. But so did Zach's in a game that they had no business losing. So we have to bring that one up. What happened there, Zach?
I knew this was going to happen.
That's crazy.
I knew this was going to happen, and I'm not even going to say what the excuse I hear when a better team loses to a worse team, but it's in the division. They say, it's a tight divisional matchup. I hear that all the time in the NFC East. At the end of the day, that's no excuse for why you lose to a team that just lost to the Panthers beforehand. If you really want to come out and make a statement, they paid Kirk Cousins 4 years, millions and millions of dollars, right? And he can't lead the team on the road against a broken Derek Carr offense, and they can't even score more than 20 points against an aging defense with health issues. Marshawn Lattimore is not even there anymore. And I've seen this so many times before with the Falcons where they win the games, like, they get lucky a couple of games, right? Like where we come out on top or we beat, Philadelphia in the last seconds, and then we beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in overtime. If those two if those things don't happen, which are miracle wins that we had, walk-off wins, we're a 4-6 team. And it just goes to show you, it's like at this point, this is a very pivotal point where Kirk Cousins in the offense and the defense, which started to play great and then has just fell off the wagon, needs to make a decision. Are we going to be a playoff team like everyone has thought, and we have told the world like we're this overarching playoff team that's going to win the NFC South? Or are we just going to dissolve into the middle of the pack like we are season over season and be 7-10, 8-9, or 9-8? Like, this is a team that has the talent around them to be 10-7 or 11-6. Bijan Robinson's playing incredible. Drake London's a touchdown juggernaut, and Kyle Pitts, to your points, I'll give your flowers, is playing a lot better. But when you can't put all the pieces of the puzzle together, you're going to lose to the Saints. Like, this is a massive matchup we have against the Denver Broncos. And if we can't beat the Broncos on the road, then I don't think we deserve to win the division. And that's my take on Atlanta. Very, very frustrating because what they remind me of? They remind me of the Chargers year over year. Like, the Chargers have so much talent around them, but they lose to like the bad divisional matchups, like the Chargers losing to the Raiders or the Broncos season over season, like when they have no bones doing that. And then when you look at the X's and O's at the end of the season, the Chargers missed the playoffs by a game or two because of some boneheaded 9-23 loss to the Raiders. I can see a lot of similarities with Atlanta's very talented display of personnel losing to the Saints and potentially losing to another team. So that's my take on the Falcons. Rant is over.
Yeah, that game wasn't an eye shot at me, so I was very confused by the outcome. So good to hear your synopsis. Yeah, I don't have much on that game specifically, but my issue with the Falcons all year has been like the trench play. Both the offensive line and more so the defensive line just not getting a pass rush. But yeah, that was a surprise for the weekend for sure.
Definitely. One thing I did want to talk about is that I am infuriated with the Chiefs this year. I think they're the worst Chiefs team. I think they're the worst Chiefs team in the last 5 years. They're somehow 9-0. They Patrick Mahomes is running across the field like it's a miracle play with them barely beating the Denver Broncos with a rookie quarterback that wasn't even picked in the top 10. He was like the 5th quarterback off the board in Bo Nix. And he's running around celebrating like they just won the Super Bowl. I am so sick of it, and I think luck is going to run out on them. And you know what? And we'll maybe push this to the actual picks, but I think the Bills are going to absolutely slaughter the Chiefs this week. I really do. I think their luck has run the F out.
Like, next level generational hate that exists for the Chiefs right now is like honestly getting to the point where it might be more than the Patriots were getting.
They're not good.
It's unbelievable. Well, first of all, whether they're good or not, they're undefeated. So yeah, it's a divisional game. They had a close one. They should have won that more decisively. They probably they had it way closer than they should have. But how can you be mad at a quarterback for celebrating their team winning a game on a close kick? Every quarterback in the NFL
played no part.
Every NFL quarterback in the NFL should be celebrating their team making a game-winning field goal and repping his boys, man. You would
it's
be
like getting an A in a group project, Si, and not doing any work.
Relax.
You would be roasting someone else if they didn't show up for their team. You were hating because the Chiefs have continuously proved you wrong. I've heard this. I'm not going to cuss on the podcast, but I've heard this take year after year again. I could probably rinse, repeat, and recycle you talking about how the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs for like 5 years now. And every single time you've said it, they've been wrong, including last year in the playoffs where you picked against the Chiefs every single week, including the Super Bowl. And you know what happened? They won every single week, including in the Super Bowl. And in every single one of the games, the team they played was favored because the team they were playing had more talent and a better roster than the Chiefs. You know what the Chiefs did? They won. So at the end of the day, I got to give them credit. I agree with you. I don't think they're some superb team, but at the same time, they've lost multiple wide receivers. They've lost all their wide receivers. I had to add DeAndre at the trade deadline. older guy. They've been finding ways to piecemeal it together. Isaiah Pacheco is out. Like, they're doing whatever they can on offense to just hang around and to make a big play here and there. And then their defense has been great. It is actually so impressive that with the current roster construction that they're winning as much as they are. Like, it doesn't make sense, and that's what's like impressive about it. They're so impressive.
It is, but it's Steve Spagnuolo. It's not the offense. Like, Patrick Mahomes is no right running around the field like going crazy when the offense is underperforming. This is the worst Chiefs team in 5 years, statistically speaking. So Steve Spagnuolo, you are doing an incredible job keeping the car from going off the guardrails. But I'm telling you, for the future of this season, the Chiefs will be 500 or worse. For the remaining 8 games that they have, they will be 4-4 or worse. And we'll come back to this clip, and I will post it all over the place.
Like, do you want to? We should make a live bet. This will be like a easy money for me. Like, wings on the loser. Wings on the loser.
What odds are we giving me?
Over under 500. You just said they're going to be 500. Own your bet, Zach. Don't.
Yeah, but that was like plus 300 odds.
He wants that at cost. You know, it doesn't want.
I want, like, I'll give you 10 wings if I'm wrong, but I want 30 wings if I'm right.
You know what? I'll do 20 to 10. 20 to 10.
Okay.
Honestly, the way Zach, you could house some wings, it's probably fair. Like, I feel like, you know, you could probably house 2 to every one of size wings anyway.
I'm a very slow eater.
I obviously disagree. Like, that was one of the craziest plays of the year. Like, to be in that situation, you know, feeling like the Chiefs' luck might start running out, like you mentioned the last few weeks, and then to block that short field goal is just ridiculous. So I'd be going crazy as well. And I think the thing is, like, the only team in the league that blocks that kick is the Chiefs. That's why they're so good. They like, if there's one play left on the clock, like, they'll find a way to turn into a winner. Like, and I think the Chiefs are just a microcosm of the new NFL, because someone texted me over the weekend, like, someone on Twitter was complaining that the NFL, like, the product is really bad and, like, all these games are blowouts and, like, it's really boring football now. And it's, you know, back to this whole concept of, like, you know, banning 2 deep safeties or whatever, which is ridiculous. But, like, the one team that's really adapted to the new NFL of, like, no explosive plays, defenses are just going to sit back and make you go down the field, is the Chiefs, right? They've built up an elite defense. They have Spagnuolo, and Patrick Mahomes has adjusted his play style accordingly. Now, granted, he's not playing up to his standards regardless, but it's more so just he's taking what the defense gives him. He knows he has a good defense. He knows they're going to run the ball, control the clock, and that's how they win. And it's not going to look pretty, but like I said, they're 9-0. Like, you can't argue with that, even if they've gotten a couple lucky wins out of the way. And I mean, it's the same thing as last year, right? They could very well go 4-4 the rest of the regular season, and then come playoff times, you know, we'll be on this forum, Zach and I, you know, saying that they have no chance in the playoffs, and then they'll do what they've been doing through the first 9 games. They'll just find a way to squeak out these games. One thing I'll defend you on, Zach, is the Bills, I think, have actually beaten the Chiefs the last 2 regular season games. They just can't beat them in the playoffs, which is when it matters. But so I don't blame you for that take per se, and I don't think it should be you know, looped in with the playoff hatred, because the Bills have actually been able to beat them in the regular season. Not that it matters, but
I will also say this: I think Mahomes knows he has a chance. Like, let's just be real. There's a reason that he's playing the way that he's playing, and there's only so much you can do when you lose all your guys. Like, you have Kelsey, of course, but Rashee Rice, you sign.
That's true.
Guy, you sign what is it, Hollywood Brown? You sign someone else. They all get injured within a couple weeks of them joining the team. It's the same issues he had last year. With the wide receivers, the number of games they lost in the second half because a guy couldn't catch a wide open ball, or someone would line up off sides on a big play. I mean, he just knows.
Yeah,
that's
a good point.
Does. That's what a winning quarterback does. He doesn't try to like force the issue and then like throw more turnovers and put his team in bad spots. He finds a way to move the ball. It's what Brady and Manning did, even when their offenses weren't as good back, you know, in the years where they still managed to win games. It's smart. That's what it is. And I respect that so much.
This is a good point you made about the Kadarius Toney garbage from last year. It's like, these 2 teams are arguably like pretty close to identical. It's just the Chiefs were beating themselves through the first half of the year, or really through the whole regular season almost. And in the playoffs, they just fixed it. And that's why, and you know, here 9-0, they just haven't made those mistakes. So see if it keeps up. But I think Pacheco might be coming back this week though. So they'll get a little bit of a boon, although Hunt's been great. So
agreed. Can we touch
Jamar
on
Chase?
The Lions, yeah. Oh, actually, we can do that. Bengals, Ravens is a good mention.
Yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase, what do you go for 250 and 3 touchdowns? That dude he's just ridiculous. Like
easy work.
269 and 3 touchdowns. And before I read the name, I was like, oh, that's a great game for whichever quarterback did that. And then I looked at oh, that's Jamar Chase.
Yeah, that game was electric. I just want to talk about Jamar, but him and Burrow together when they're both healthy is just ridiculous.
Zach, any thoughts?
Well, I'm just glad I'm not a GM because I really got on Jamar's case before the season with the holdout. And, I wonder if the GM regrets not handing him a deal earlier in the season, which was size counterpoint, because he also had to pay T. Higgins. But T. Higgins, once again, cannot stay on the field. He's always questionable with like a hamstring injury or an ankle injury. And even when he's on the field, he is not the player he used to be. He's not really a deep threat anymore. He's more of like a possession-oriented wide receiver, whereas Jamar Chase is he's a running back that plays wide receiver. That's the best way to describe him. He is the best player in the NFL in the open field. And I actually think he's better than Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson is a better receiver, but I think Jamar Chase is a better playmaker. And it's to no fault of Justin Jefferson. I think that these two guys are head and shoulders the best two receivers in the league, and there's no one close. It is like, how like we typically lump 6 or 7 receivers into a tier 1 category. Like I remember Stephon Diggs in Buffalo was always like the fringe tier 1, almost tier 2. Like nowadays it is Jamar and Justin Jefferson, and then there is no comparison. It immediately becomes a second tier. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL definitively for me because he's just a model of consistency as a number one. Like it doesn't matter who gets hurt. It doesn't matter who his quarterback is. Even last year when, before in the games after Kirk got hurt, you just consistently saw Justin going out there, killing people with his route running and catching everything within like a 10-yard radius of him. He's just unbelievable I believe Justin Jefferson will, at this rate, will go down as he has the potential to go down as the greatest ever. That's the trajectory he's on. The issue with Jamar has been more of that, like, he is obviously at his peak, like, up there with anyone, but he has more floor games than a guy like Justin, which is why I can't quite give him that. But I will say, in terms of upside, like, then I think he's right there with Justin Jefferson. I disagree. I also think I'm not out on CD yet. I think CD Lamb is up there. I think the issue is like this year just has been rough with the QB play and with how much the Cowboys have been struggling. But we saw how unbelievable he was last year. Tyreek getting a little bit older. I'll give you that though.
Yeah, CD's tier 1. I forgot about CD. I'll throw him in tier 1 too.
Dude, I was loving your take because going into the season, it was probably those 3 guys as a tier 1, and then now you're backing off of it. I liked where that take was going, and then you skipped off it. CD's not on their level. He's not on their level for me.
Yes, he is.
He's not on their level for me. He's not.
Yes, he is. Why is he not?
I just think those guys are just so elite level, and like CD has had, last year he was unbelievable, but overall in his career he's just been a little inconsistent. And the quarterback play, like other than Burrow's been in and out even, but like CD's had one of the most consistent quarterback situations of all these guys. I mean, he's had Dak for his entire career, and Dak's had a couple injuries, sure, but he's not. CD's great. But he's not on their level for me.
CD's in between the two of them, and that's why he's so special. I truly just forgot about CD. CD is a combination of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. He's good in the open field, but he's got more of that finesse route running ability that Justin Jefferson has. I think he's like that perfect 1A and 1B type of player between Jamar and Justin.
Yes, CD last year had a better season than Jamar Chase has ever had. I mean, I recognize he hasn't been as good as Jamar this year, but Jamar hasn't been as good as CD last year. And even the year prior, they were pretty even. CD was like unstoppable last year, man. I mean, I recognize he's had a rough go at it. I think he's a bit banged up too, which doesn't help.
Yeah.
And that's part of the issue too. And the Cowboys' offense overall has been a struggle, but that's not because CD isn't amazing. It's a vision. All 3 are unbelievable.
So, yeah, I'm not saying he's not amazing, but you have to be able to do it with bad quarterback play. I think is my point. He had one incredible year, sure, but look at Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is the guy that I think will get to that Jefferson Chase level once he fixes. The concussions are starting to scare me because he took another hit to the head on Sunday, and his, I'm not sure he's, totally thrilled about being on the Giants playing with Daniel Jones. So I think that affects his effort sometimes, but he has the talent of those two guys. He's unbelievable, but got to clean a couple things up. But what was the last one I was going to go to?
Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions, man. You got to talk about that.
Yeah, I have two teams I want to give love to, but let's go to the Lions first. Si, what do you got?
I mean, Texans had every right to win that game, and the Lions should not have won that at all. And that is precisely why the Lions are so scary this year, because that was your perfect example of a game where like all the cards are down, like you're not playing well at all, and you come out after halftime down like 3-4 scores, and you go out there and you dominate. Like Texans don't score another point the rest of the game. I've kind of been saying this about the Texans the last couple of weeks. They're not as good as people we're making them out to be, and it's a product of a lot of things. The number one being their offensive line has just been abysmal. I do want to go on a really quick point about the Texans, though. I am so tired of Texans fans complaining about Bobby Slowick, and they start giving me all these like graphics, and we can clip this because I want to throw it at all my Houston fans out there, especially those guys like Jay and them that you guys have met. They keep throwing a hissy fit every week because they're like, oh, Slowick screwed us again. And I'm like, do you recognize what cards this guy has like been dealt? Last year, the Texans went on to have one of the best years with a rookie quarterback you could possibly have. They won a playoff game, and nobody knew who Nico Collins or Tank Dell was coming into that year. They didn't have a run game last year, and they didn't have a great offensive line last year. And all he did was take a rookie CJ Stroud and make Nico Collins a stud wide receiver, get him paid, make Tank Dell great, and manage to make the playoffs and win a playoff game. Yeah, this year it hasn't been great. They don't have an offensive line. They lose Nico Collins. They lose Stephon Diggs. Tank Dell can't catch a ball, and he's doing everything he can. Joe Mixon has been great. I'm just tired of like the amount of like discredit sometimes coordinators get when they're good. Like people don't recognize it when they have good, but I do also recognize that teams that are used to losing for like the better part of 2 decades probably can't appreciate something good when they have it. So I'll leave it at that, and I hope to send them that clip. I'll let you guys comment on the rest. The Lions are great.
I completely agree with that, Si. I'm not out on the Texans, but I don't think that they're as good as people say they are. But their defense is legit. That Al-Ashir, middle linebacker, their pass rush, and then you got Stingley on one side. I forget who their other corner is, but overall, I trust CJ Stroud. I just think it's a product of injuries. It is. I mean, when you got your two lead receivers out, it's pretty tough. But the Lions to throw 5 interceptions and then for them to storm back just shows you the grit iron, the biting of the kneecaps that Dan Campbell had always claimed that he was going to do. I mean, that is a perfect example of it. It was a really fun game to watch. Truly, it was a good time. And my parlay hit because Detroit ended up coming back. So shout out Dan Campbell and company.
Yeah, February 9th, the Lions will be there. It's happening. This is as Zach said, they threw Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions and they beat. The Texans have a lot of problems right now, but they're still a above average team. When the Lions threw 5 picks and beat them on the road, it's over. I think the NFC might be done.
Also threw 4 picks, didn't he? They had a pick back and forth battle.
Yeah, the Lions are. They've got it. They're starting to have what the Chiefs have, I think, whereas they just find ways to win. Shout out Jake Bates, a big Jake Bates guy. Wanted the Commanders to snag him this offseason, but it's all right. We got a good kicker in it anyways, but I do vibe.
Mr. Brick and Mortar out there.
Jake Bates said. But yeah, the Lions will be playing on February 9th. I'm pretty confident at this point.
Well, it's funny you say that because you're talking about kickers. Jake Moody had an awful game, and yet the San Francisco 49ers won by the hair of a kick. And that's a team that, obviously I expect the Lions are the favorites, and they should be. But I'm not sleeping on the Niners anymore with C-Mac back. They're all immediately better. The only issue is no Ayuk. But, yeah, I agree. The Detroit Lions are easily the favorites to win the NFC right now, and it's not really even close. But the 2 teams I wouldn't sleep on, assuming they make the playoffs, is I guess the only 2 teams I think that can – I shouldn't say 2 because I feel like this is a little bit disrespectful to Eagles. But I think the Green Bay Packers, if they can get healthy at the right time, can give them a run for their money as kind of more of a sleeper team with the divisional matchup and them being able to match up all right. And then, of course, the Niners. I don't know. Maybe the Eagles are better than we think this year, too. But those are the only ones out there.
I don't know. You guys won't have – the San Francisco 49ers won't have a kicker or a a holder due to neck issues because your boy Debo can't control himself.
Yeah, he shouldn't be doing that. I love Debo, but you can't go after those guys. But yeah, he was frustrated. There's no denying that.
I didn't realize until after I'd seen that clip that Jake Moody was 3 field goals in that game. So sounds like there were some staff issues. But the two teams I want to shout out, I've been shouting them out every week until the broader NFL community starts giving them credit. The Arizona Cardinals are really good.
Yeah.
The Niners might be in trouble in that division. Maybe not trouble yet, but like the Niners are a big-time threat to win that division. I actually think on the betting odds there, like the field is favored, but the Cardinals have the best odds above the Cardinals, or the Cardinals have the best odds above the Niners. There it is. But they're genuinely legit. And Justin Herbert. Let me pose a question here about Justin Herbert. I was a little bit critical of him earlier this season, and I saw some stuff about scouts not being sold. How many quarterbacks in the NFL would you rather build a franchise around than Justin Herbert right now?
Maybe like 3 or 4. It's not a lot. He's up there, top 5.
I am the biggest Justin Herbert truther, so that answer will be very limited. I think the only ones you can definitively say are Patrick Mahomes. If you like the scrambling and everything, Lamar Jackson is probably up there. Maybe then you have a conversation about guys like Jaden and them because they're young, so you have to talk about Jaden versus Justin.
Or CJ Stroud. I would still put Herbert over Stroud.
I would take Justin Herbert over CJ Stroud every day, and that's
me too.
To CJ Stroud. Justin Herbert, I would take over Jordan Love. I take him over a lot of the young guys. I think Jaden's the only one that has a conversation for me because as a rookie, he's been truly unbelievable. So that'd be a toss-up. And then maybe the one other one, you have to debate between Herbert and Joe Burrow, just because Burrow's had like more success, but he's also had better teams. So those two are kind of a toss-up. But I think I'd take Herbert over Joe Burrow too. I think honestly, he'd be top 4 for me for sure. I love Herbert. I just don't think he's one of the only guys on that list who's thrown for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Not many other guys can say they've done that. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to give him and the Chargers some love. The Chargers are good. So that's all I got.
Why are they good though, Evan?
Because they can run the ball down his throats, and Justin Herbert's playing. Like I said, he's playing at an elite level, and they play, good defense. They just control the game. So they impose their will.
Taking the pressure off of Herbert. That's what Brandon Staley never did. Took the pressure off of Herbert. I remember the first 2-3 games that Herbert played. We were actually out on him from a fantasy perspective, rightly so, because he's throwing 18 times a game. It's like what Pete Carroll did with Russell Wilson back in the day with Seattle. But I think, obviously J.K. Dobbins has just had an incredible resurgent year. He's been just as important to Herbert in that offense by getting that going, averaging over 5 yards a carry this season, and allowing Herbert to not have 9 people in the box, and man-on-man coverage where he can't really get anything going. But I think Harbaugh, by him establishing the run game, what they're doing is they're controlling the clock early, and then they're being really, really efficient because Herbert's super accurate. And so what you're seeing is the Chargers are actually winning the easy games this year, and they're sitting there at 6-3, and they're probably going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I can definitely respect that approach. I just think they need to add an elite wide receiver to pair with McConkey and Quentin Johnston, and then let Herbert unleash it a little bit more down the road if they want. That's capable of achieving. Because the only qualm I have with that is I want to see him throw the ball more because he's just electric when he throws it.
Anything else?
Now, boys, you guys want to shift over?
Yeah,
let's do it.
I just think we should give a quick shout out to the Eagles for just. I mean, obviously it was a backup, but they look a lot better now than they did earlier in the year.
Evan, you want to apologize to Sirianni?
Who, me?
No, Evan.
Let's see what happens Thursday. Let's see what happens Thursday, and then. I was laughing at your dynasty fantasy team because you had Dak, so you've got like all the backups now. And you had 3 Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks that combined for negative points. This Kid Cooper had like -2. And Lance had like a point. Dude, the Cowboys situation is just a mess. We could probably dive into that on a later week. But I'm not going to give the Eagles much credit for that one.
Hey, do you guys also want to quickly, for like 1 second each, because I know we got to get into picks, talk about the Vikings winning 12-7 against the Jaguars, not scoring a touchdown? Like, I'm starting to get a little worried about the Vikings, even against my Colts last week. We were terrible. We could not move the ball on offense, and we had a one-possession game against them because we had a pick six and a fumble recovery. I mean, the Vikings are making some mistakes, man.
They do this every year. I don't understand how. I mean, the Darosol loss is huge. I mean, they replaced him immediately, but Cam Robinson didn't play well, but against his old team. But yeah, they do this every year, and it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, Sam Darnold has not been playing as well the last few weeks by any stretch, so he needs to, play better, more like he was early in the season. But yeah, I mean, it's the same story every year, so I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe it makes it easier for them to slide JJ in next year, so I'm not mad about that.
They're probably looking forward to that. Yeah. If Doc doesn't have any thoughts, we can pivot to the pick.
No, we're good.
Let's do it. Refreshing the board. Obviously, we took a week off last week, but Cy remains in first at just under 65%. 9 games up on myself, who's in third, and only 4 games up on Zach. So it's still pretty tight at the top. We'll start off on Thursday night, as I alluded to. Washington at Philly, huge divisional matchup. Spread is Philly -3.5. Over under is 48.5. Let's start with Zach.
Philly win and cover -3.5.
Cy?
Yeah, if you're not going to like me, Philly win and cover, man.
Let's go. In Lincoln Financial, woo!
I think Washington's going to be so mad at themselves after losing to Pittsburgh. Sounds like they are in the locker room. So I think they're going to come in here and they're going to win this game. It's a huge game. They need to get right. I think, obviously I'm biased, so I'm going to take them to win on the road.
Watch out. Cooper DeJean's coming for you, man. He's playing real well lately.
Yeah, he's a stud. The one problem is who's going to guard. It sounds like Lattimore's not going to be back, so it's going to be tough. And who's going to guard A.J. Brown. So
they would have been able to guard out of those guys anyway. But anyway, continue.
Hey, if we got Lattimore. Colts at Jags. Colts at Jets. Jets are 4-point favorites at home. Over-under is 43.5. I'll say the Jets win but don't cover. Both of these teams are just bad for me all around. Zach?
Jets win and cover. I think this is finally going to be the time. I said it last week. I think, come on, it's Aaron Rodgers, guys. Aaron Rodgers can't be this
bad. It's not making the playoffs if that's what you're indicating.
They're not out of the playoffs yet.
It's 100% over. It is over for the Jets this year.
Wait,
I said it like 3 weeks ago. Basically. Well,
Jets win and cover. Jets win and cover.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to cover. But Cy?
I feel so bad for our defense. I feel so bad for Jonathan Taylor. I feel so bad for Josh Downs, who has been a revelation. But we're going to lose because we can't figure out our quarterback situation. So the Jets are going to win. I'm not picking cover, but I pick Jets to win.
Green Bay at Chicago. Green Bay is a 6.5-point favorite on the road. Let's see if Tyson Agent gets into this game late. Seems like there's a chance. Over-under is 40.5. I have Green Bay winning cover. Zach?
Green Bay win and cover.
Yeah, Green Bay win and cover.
Next game, Jacksonville at Detroit. Detroit is a 13-point favorite at home. That might be the biggest one I've seen all year. Over-under is 47.5. Cy?
Give me Detroit by 21.
All right. Yeah, I'll say winning cover. It's hard for me to lay that many points, but with Mac Jones at the helm, what's there to say? Zach?
Detroit's getting reamed out as we speak on a Tuesday night as we record this by Dan Campbell and company for going down too early. They don't like playing down. I mean, they had the will and the nerve to win, but the Lions are not going to make that same mistake. They're going to go up 14-0 quick. Give me this -13.5 spread.
Las Vegas at Miami. Miami is a 7.5-point favorite at home, coming off a big Monday Night Football win. That puts them firmly back in the wild card picture. Over-under is 44.5. I've got Miami win but no cover. I think Miami's a little bit overrated in Vegas, and it's tough coming off a Monday Night Football game, and Vegas is coming off a bye week. So I'll say like a backdoor cover for Vegas. Zach?
Yeah, give me the same thing. Miami wins, but no cover. I just think with Tyreek's wrist issue, Jalen Waddle is not playing great this season. I just don't trust him.
Yeah, I mean, I said 2 weeks ago, I think Miami's going to find a way to get back in that playoff hunt, and I stand by that. So I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to cover. And I don't care if the Raiders got 8 bye weeks before this game.
Rams at Patriots. Rams are 5-point favorites on the road. There's 44.5. Let's start with Zach.
Give me Rams and cover. I think the Rams, this is like some diabolical statistic of Matt Stafford, like first time in many seasons, him not throwing a touchdown pass. They're going to find their way back into the end zone with the healthy Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So give me Rams winning cover this one. This is one of my favorites.
Ty?
Rams win and cover.
I have no cover. Patriots played well last week, so I almost picked them to win outright, but that would have been a little crazy. Cleveland at New Orleans. New Orleans is a 1.5-point favorite at home. Over is 43.5. Let's start with Cy.
For you said what was? Sorry, give me the spread again.
-1.5 New Orleans against Cleveland.
This is awful. I will go. I guess I'll just ride the momentum of New Orleans. I have no reason to pick the other way. I'll give New Orleans a win and cover.
So this is one of those, I'm sorry, but this is the point of the season where Vegas, like, they set these lower numbers to try and trap you into it. Like the Rams one felt easy against Miami, only being 2. Bit of a trap. There was another one yesterday. So normally I had this at like -3.5 New Orleans. So it's one of those, why is it lower? I don't know. And I'm going to say that Vegas knows something and that Cleveland's going to win outright. Zach?
Reading between the lines.
All right. Without doing any introspective analytics, which then messes up your own pick. Like just watching football, I think the Saints are the better team. I think Derek Carr is going to play well. He certainly does at home. Give me the Saints win and cover against a Jameis Winston Browns or where the heck the quarterback is.
Jameis Winston revenge game. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. This is a great game. Baltimore is a 3-point favorite on the road. Bit surprised there. Over there's 47.5. I think it's going to be a good back and forth divisional game. Give me Pittsburgh to win this one outright and make this division title super interesting. Zach?
This is really tough. Give me the Ravens win and cover.
This is the best Lamar Jackson has looked in his entire career because he's throwing the ball so well, and it is so fun to watch. Last week you put on a QB clinic. I'm taking Lamar, man. Lamar win and cover. I can't pick him,
Look at how Pittsburgh defended Jaden Daniels. They're going to be able to do a similar thing to Lamar, similar to how the Ravens do to any mobile quarterback, where they just do not let him out of the pocket. So I think that's going to be interesting. But yeah, this is going to be a good game.
Lamar and Jaden are not the same, man.
No, but it's the same style of play that they will not let Lamar out of the pocket. And then he's going to have to throw it.
The Steelers, I've watched them do it plenty.
We'll see. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. Minnesota at Tennessee. Minnesota's a 6-point favorite on the road. Over-under is 39.5. Let's start with Cy.
You said 6-point favorite?
Yep.
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. They should bounce back. Minnesota win a cover.
I almost picked Tennessee outright at home. I'll say they win, or Minnesota wins, but doesn't cover instead. Zach?
Wow.
Minnesota wins and covers, and it's because of how debacle or what a debauchery that the Tennessee Titans special teams is. Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
Atlanta at Denver. Denver's a 2.5-point favorite at home. Over-under is 43.5. Let's start with Cy.
Oh, Vegas is really out on your Falcons, Zach. I'm going to pick the Falcons to win this one, though. They need to play better after last week. I still think a little too much hype.
Denver, I actually think, is a bit underrated, maybe. This is probably a pretty bet. I'll say Denver winning cover at home. Zach?
Falcons are going to win this game. It's going to be a big response, and I don't think Denver's as good as they say they are or as Vegas thinks they are, so I could not agree more with Cy on this one.
Seattle at San Francisco. San Francisco with 6.5-point favorite at home. Over-under is 49.5. I'll say San Francisco wins and covers. Zach?
San Francisco wins and covers.
SF by 1 million.
Kansas City at Buffalo, great game. Buffalo is 2.5-point favorites at home. Over-under is 46.5. Zach, I believe, has already made his pick.
Buffalo by 1 million.
All right, Cy, I believe we'll be going with the Chiefs.
Well, I've already used my one time a year picking against the Chiefs. So even though I think the Bills are a better team, I have to pick the Chiefs. It's part of my yearly logic that I follow. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
I will take the Bills to win and cover, which will be another great game. I'm really excited and interested in this Sunday night football game. It's Cincinnati at the LA Chargers. The Chargers are 1.5-point favorites at home. Over-under is 46.5. This is my favorite spread of the week. The Chargers at home. This is the exact kind of team that Cincinnati cannot hang with. A team that's just going to control the clock, keep Joe Burrow off the field, and shove it down your throats. Big win. Chargers get some national spotlight on this new rebuild under Harbaugh. So Chargers winning cover. Zach?
I love the storyline, but I couldn't disagree more. Evan, I think Cincinnati is better than LA. And I think that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win this. I got a money line, not even like not covering the spread, full on money line, Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah,
So
I love Justin Herbert, but Joe Burrow is, especially after losing last one, after throwing for 400 something yards, multiple touchdowns. I think he's going to respond. I got Cincinnati winning this one.
Houston at Dallas is Monday Night Football. Looks like one we can skip. Houston is 7.5-point favorites on the road. Over under is 42.5. Zach.
The Texans win and cover. I think they're going to actually play really, really well here.
Stop.
I'm not comfortable picking a cover against anyone for Houston right now when it's more than 7, just because of how distraught they look overall. But I'll obviously take them to win. I'm just going to say no.
Yeah, I'll take a cover, but not confidently. Dallas just looks horrible right now, and I think they've given up. So that's it. 4 teams on bye. That's all I got.
Did Cy and I disagree with any pick this time around, Ev? I feel like we're going to have a lot of conversational topics.
I think the one you disagreed on, right?
Kansas City Buffalo is the only one. You maybe disagreed on some like spread covers versus no covers, but in terms of the pick'ems, the only one is the Kansas City game. So it looks like not a lot of change will happen at the top of the leaderboard, but I might have an opportunity to gain or lose some ground. So, maybe we can tighten this thing up. But
don't lose any.
Yeah, hopefully we'll make it interesting here down the stretch. But
I got a live update during our podcast, and my game comments are actually ranked 21st in the nation. So
hey,
about time.
Nice. I appreciate that.
Oh. Also, quick shout out to the Virginia Tech Hokie basketball team, who Evan and Cy have been making fun of and poking a little bit here and there. Oh, you guys are a basketball school now. We're 3-0. We just got a fresh win off of Winthrop, 58-52. It was a nail-biter performance, but we're 3-0. So if we can just stay undefeated before ACC play, watch out. Watch out.
No school moves on from one sport to the next. They say we're back at everything.
Zach, did you get a glimpse of the home crowd at Castle Coliseum for that Winthrop game?
Non-existent.
It showed up on my Twitter feed. There were like no fans at that game. Congrats, though. I can't wait for the 5 and 6 UVA Virginia Tech football bowl to see who gets to go to a bowl game. It's just exhausting every year.
Colin's going to that game. Well, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Overall,
we got a couple weeks.
I wish you guys were a little bit better so we had a chance to play in a bowl game, but actually we're just going to be way too far ahead of you guys now.
You guys deserve a very, very good bowl game. I'm curious to see you guys are going to end up playing maybe like an OK State or something like that. If we can beat
Missouri and Clemson, we'll be pretty high up there, but we just got to get those dubs.
I really hope you guys beat Clemson, and I think you can beat Clemson. I really do. I think you guys can beat Clemson. I
think we're the better team. Clemson's bad. All their wins are against terrible teams, and anyone good they played, they've lost, dude. It's the state of the SEC. No offense to Tech. This isn't even me being mean to Tech.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But anyways, hey, look forward, fans, to some of these fun prompts that are going to come around the table. No pun intended, because Thanksgiving is right down the corner. So Cy, Evan, and I are going to think of some fun prompts again, like we have done in the past couple of years. Maybe comparing a player to a certain Thanksgiving meal or dish or whatever it might be. So stay tuned for that. If you also want to come on the show, just let us know. We'd love to have you. If you watched this far, we're about an hour and 9 minutes in. Thank you so much. But that was Mondays Down South. We'll catch you in the next one.